Hello, everyone, again, and welcome to part two of my complaint forum, if you will. And I'll get right back into where I was at, talking about the reward circuit, the media, how we are basically pawns in our own game, and the products that we are sold are basically a bunch of crap we don't need. The corporations tell us that everything we consume is safe, but don't make sure you don't buy any raw milk or anything from the little guy. And I wanted to really get into this idea of not just, I mentioned neuromarketing in the last one, and it's a huge thing in the industry. But one of the most frustrating parts of this, and the thing that I wanted to really bring to light, was that none of these people are liable or culpable or will even answer to the media. I know a lot of people hate the media, but let's just say there are still some good journalists out there. If you search deep on YouTube, you'll find some channels of small foreign journalist companies that go out there and they really seek out the stories. And when they catch these guys off guard, saying, why do nitrates in meat, why are they shown to cause cancer? The people just snap, I wasn't told this was the interview I was here for. For a journalist to get out there and really stick their neck out and interview these bigwigs without them knowing and bring in secret cameras, I think it's great. It's something we need more of. But it's also something that's being stymied and pushed aside online. And I think this is the most important part of the conversation I was having when I said earlier, you don't need a good product, you just need a good brain map. That's absolutely true. You have to tell people why they want something. And to bring back up McDonald's, it's the perfect example. I saw this one lady who was suing McDonald's because they said that they shouldn't advertise to her kid. And my first thought was, well, yeah, McDonald's sucks, but you're allowing your kid. The interviewer asked her, they're like, well, does she ask to go there? And she's like, yeah. And she says, well, can't you tell her no? And she's like, well, then she throws a fit. Boom, shitty parenting. I'm sorry to say, your kid doesn't get everything they want. But here's the thing. It's true as well that kids are preyed upon. And when I was a kid, we didn't go to McDonald's that often. It wasn't that exciting. It wasn't something that I really looked that forward to, but I never have taken my kids. I think one time to McDonald's when we were on a road trip. We stopped for like fries and a milkshake or something, but they're not interested not because we tell them it's horrible, but because they understand good food. They understand, sure, they eat top ramen, things like that sometimes, but the point being that we're trying to teach them that these corporations want their money, and the whole point was that it came down to the toy. It was the marketing part, the Nero part that really hit the kids in the gut. We get a free toy every time we go, and all the parents who were interviewed said the same thing. And these companies have unlimited lobbying power to go into Congress and say, hey, let's get this law passed to make sure we're protected, but not the little guy. If somebody brings up a question about the quality of the meat or where it comes from, or the farming practices of some of these companies, or whether or not they're polluting the streams in their own fucking towns, it's ludicrous. And we've gone off the gold standard. We have no real basis for our currency system. We're kind of just allowing everything to just float. And the greed is just so bad. When you really think about who's running this country, people talk, the pharmaceutical industry makes their own rules. The media decides through their channels what should be talked about and how much it should be talked about. We have big agriculture, which owns the seeds and tells farmers they can't replant their own crops. And if seeds cross into their fields and they happen to be Monsanto's, they can be sued too, but you better jump on board. We have the meat industry, which is ruthless, and the dairy industry, which is also ruthless. And that's just 5. We have oil and gas companies, which dominate and consolidate. We have the wood and forest companies that make all of our wood products, Weyerhaeuser, and all these companies out here that lock down the land and pass regulations that benefit them. The land itself is owned by the government, right? We have hospitals now that are, businesses rather than places to, look, I get you have to make an income, but it's become preposterous because of the pharmaceutical issues. Prisons are privately owned now, and there's 10 total. And then we have the military, the U.S. military. You know, companies like Blackwater and the dozens of other small black ops, you know, companies that really work for the military as subcontractors now, that don't have the same rules and laws and regulations and basically do whatever they want in other countries on behalf of the United States. And then the people suffer the repercussions for their government's actions. And then the very final one, the final frontier here, of all these industries that have been controlled, dominated, and consolidated, including, you know, cable TV, everything, network television, the internet is the last fucking thing that we have between us and complete annihilation of our freedoms. And if we let the internet get taken over by governments telling us what we should and shouldn't have, we're doomed. So I'm going to finalize this by reading you this, something I have always enjoyed, something that always spoke to me, and since there's probably a copyright on sharing the video, I'm sure a lot of you have heard it. It's George Carlin, one of my favorite speeches of his. And so I'm going to read it to you. But there's a reason. I won't read it like Carlin. But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks. And it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to happen. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you've got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners. The big wealthy business interests that control things and make important decisions. Forget all the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You don't have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control all the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies. So they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interests. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around a kitchen table to figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines, do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you, sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club, and by the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people. White collar, blue collar. It doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These people are of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on. The fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owner of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream. Because you have to be asleep to believe it. George Carlin. So I'll leave it with that. I think I got my point across. But Carlin did it better than I ever could. So thanks for listening. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you to my subscribers. Be sure to check out my 15-minute free thinking podcast. And I also recently did an interview for a podcast called 13 Questions. And I don't know when it will be up, but I'll be sure to post a link when that one's up as well. And thank you to Felix for recommending me for that show. And I'm going to be doing another video shortly about supposed ancient aliens, megalithic construction structures, and my beliefs and disbeliefs on some of the bullshit out there. But I thought I had to get this one across first. So thanks for listening. Talk to y'all later. Peace.